Okay, well, good morning, and thanks to you and Kenosha Community Media for having me on again. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to give a little update. First of all, what a beautiful fall morning here in Kenosha. Got my dogs walked already, and the colors are starting to be pretty impressive, so good start of the day. Kind of the biggest news of the session right now is the issue of Justice Janet Protashewicz, and she, of course, was elected by a huge margin in the recent Supreme Court election, and the votes were barely counted, and Speaker Voss was threatening to impeach her as a result of expressing an opinion on the legislative maps, which have been gerrymandered in Wisconsin. They've been called the most gerrymandered maps in the entire country. And just a little bit of update in terms of what that means is every 10 years, after the new census is put in place, the legislative maps are then put in place. And ever since 2010 or 2011, the maps were drawn by the Republican majority, and they were drawn in a way that virtually ensures that the Republicans will win the vast majority of seats in both the Assembly and also in the Senate. So we've obviously been seeing that in the statewide elections that Democrats have won the governor's seat in the last couple of elections, narrow wins, but Justice Protashewicz, at that time, candidate Protashewicz, won an amazing turnout of people in Wisconsin saying that they wanted her to serve as their next Supreme Court justice. And based upon opinions that she gave during the election, not as to how she would rule, but just basically her opinion on the fact that these are gerrymandered maps. Now Speaker Voss thinks that is reason to impeach her, and that has gotten a little bit more of a possibility. As she announced last week, I believe it was on Friday, that she indeed would not recuse herself from meeting on that particular item as it comes up, and I believe that they are scheduled to take up that issue later on this month to determine, first of all, whether or not the maps are unconstitutional, and then essentially what to do about that. So it's possible that as early as this Thursday, I certainly hope that that's not the case, but it's certainly possible that the Republicans would begin that impeachment process. That process would begin in the Assembly, where, of course, they have the vast majority of votes, thanks to the makeup of those legislative districts. So we would be the first one to hear that, then assuming that it passed in the Assembly, it would then go to the Senate for a full trial. So that's certainly something to pay attention to here in the next few weeks. So I think they're really the future of democracy in many ways. I think it really depends upon the outcome of this. If left to their own devices, the Republicans would have a system that essentially would guarantee that that party would control the legislature in perpetuity forever. So keep your eye on that. The other thing that will, one of the committees I serve on, the State Affairs Committee, had approximately a 6-hour public hearing in Milwaukee at State Fair Park last week on the proposal for the funding of the Brewers. Just a little bit of an update on that. First of all, the stadium is owned by the state of Wisconsin, and there are 7 years left on the lease. And so the proposal that is in front of us would extend that lease and Up until recently, the maintenance on the building was paid for by a 0.25% sales tax on 5 different counties. It did not include Kenosha, but it included 5 different counties. And that money was used to pay the freight on the maintenance of the building that the state owns. Well, that came to an end, and so now a new funding source has to be brought forward if we are going to be able to maintain our lease and also maintain that that building is going to be occupied going forward. Now, it's kind of a complicated formula, but just kind of the nuts and the bolts of it is that the maintenance is being proposed by the by the Republicans, that the maintenance would be paid with the income that is earned by the state income tax, not just on the Brewers, but any of the ball players that come and play in the Brewer Park. They are subject to Wisconsin state income tax, and approximately 2/3 of those taxes going forward for the next several years into the next decade would be paid by that income tax. So there's still several details to be worked out, and at the hearing, I questioned whether or not it was the wisest place to invest money. That said, I was kind of misquoted in a recent article just kind of out of context, my comments in a recent Kenosha News article. I do question whether or not it's the best use for that type of investment. The governor had an investment in his budget that would have been funded. They would have put $290 million into investments, and the interest on those investments would have been used to pay the maintenance going forward. The president of the Brewers during the hearing did say that he thought that was a fine proposal that the governor had, but unfortunately that's not the proposal that is on the table. There are certainly negotiations going on as we speak in terms of what the final bill will look like, and at this point I'm not sure whether I will be a yes or no on that based upon the outcome of those negotiations. That committee vote may come as early as tomorrow, and if it does, then I'm sure that it will advance to the full assembly for a vote as early as Thursday, perhaps the following week. So those are certainly two big items that are going on in the legislature right now. We will be busy. I will be spending the bulk of the next 2 weeks in Madison. So if you don't see me around town, that's the reason why. I just want to also tell all the listeners something that they may or may not know yet, but there is a new opportunity to get COVID tests. And you can get your phone or your computer out and go to covidtests.gov and request free tests. They'll come to your household, 4 tests per household. So I encourage people to do that. COVID is certainly on the upswing right now. I just recently had my third case of it, and I know several people in the legislature who have had it recently, and other friends as well. So I'll go ahead and get some tests. And this is the season, and certainly encourage people to think about the new vaccine. And it should be available. If not now, it should be readily available in the near future. I think that some places certainly already have it. So check around, and if you're going to get a vaccine, I encourage you to do so. That's all I got for right now, Jason. Just want to once again thank everybody for listening, and you for hosting this opportunity for me to say a few things about what's going on, and look forward to chatting again in a couple weeks.